All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jenna Wood, and I am one of the dietitians here with the Giant Company. Thursdays, as you may be aware, we talk about a trending topic, something fun, something different that maybe we wouldn't cover in another class. If you don't already know, this coming Sunday, I want to say that's the 20th or the 21st, is National Ice Cream Day. And I'm pretty sure most people on our team were big ice cream fans. So I was very excited to chat about ice cream with all of you. So let's get into it. Look, it's very pink ice cream here. It looks like bubble gum. But let us dive in. So again, we're celebrating National Ice Cream Day. However, July is also Ice Cream Month. It's hot. We want something to cool down. But I love some good trivia. So we're going to touch on a little bit about ice cream. So back in 1984, President Ronald Reagan declared the third Sunday in July to be National Ice Cream Day. He wanted people to celebrate, so I guess that's why he made it a Sunday and not like a specific date. And of course, he also designated July as Ice Cream Month. A part of why people think this happened, other than just everyone loves ice cream, is that we care about our US dairy farmers here in this country. So I thought this was a small statistic, but 9% of the milk that we produce here in the United States is used to produce ice cream. Our top 5 flavors in this country are vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, butter pecan, and cookie dough. And the average American eats roughly 19 pounds of ice cream each year, or about 4 gallons. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it would be higher. So that's good. All right, I actually do have 2 polls. I'm just gonna launch them. The first being, what is your favorite frozen treat? Are you an ice cream person? Do you prefer gelato, sherbet, sorbet, frozen yogurt, or some other type of frozen thing I didn't think of? All right. People are coming through. It definitely, ice cream is reigning supreme. I'm going to talk about the differences because I think there are some misconceptions about some of them on this slide. Um, but I'm not shocked that most people it's ice cream for sure. So I'm going to end the poll there. 75% of us prefer ice cream. I do. I've lived in Italy. I do love gelato. It is decadent and perfect. However, tried and true, ice cream is definitely my favorite. Then, out of these 5 flavors I have here, or a different one, what is your favorite flavor? The vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, butter pecan, or cookie dough? I would say I'd probably eat any of these on here except for maybe strawberry. That's not my favorite. Out of those, like I wouldn't probably go for a Neapolitan here. Um, but let us see. I think it's so funny when people say like vanilla is a boring flavor. Vanilla is an amazing flavor. It's just an expensive thing, buying actual vanilla beans and things. So it is an exotic flavor, even though it tastes, in theory, in our minds, kind of basic. All right, let's end the poll here. So a lot of people, 30%, the most, you have some other flavor that you love, and that's so great. Maybe it's mint chocolate, maybe it's black raspberry. There are so many flavors. And of course, we have a medley. People do love chocolate, and I think there's so many different varieties of chocolate too. But let us keep going. So now ice cream, I know you're probably thinking like, why is a dietitian talking about ice cream? But we love ice cream and we want to make sure we're eating it in a way that's sustainable. So treats like ice cream, because ice cream is a treat, can be a part of any type of healthy dietary pattern. The frequency and the portion size are what matter when it comes to eating things like treats. We'll talk a little bit more about ways to enjoy ice cream, but if you have a hard time sticking to portions, there are so many pre-portioned options out there nowadays. I know Shayna talked about popsicles, and there's so many types of popsicles, but there's the ice cream bars or the little ice cream cups. I know Haagen-Dazs has like literally just a teeny serving of one. So there are options if you yourself struggle with the portion. And there are so many options and varieties and flavors and milks and different things that they're made from now. So there really is an option that fits just about every need. Now, we're going to backtrack just a little bit. This comes from me teaching food science for many years, but back in 2020, there was a big update in the food label. And this is a good slash neutral thing, but food servings kind of got what they refer to on the FDA's website, a reality check. Now, back before 2020, if you looked at a container of ice cream, a serving would have said half a cup. Half a cup is quite small, but that was what they said was a serving. Now, as of 2020, the updating serving size is 2/3 of a cup. Not a huge difference, but it does make a difference in terms of nutrition, calories, all those things. Well, why did this happen? So, and as you can see here, like a pint container, like I have a couple pints with me today, a pint container, instead of having 4 servings, is now going to have 3 servings. So, what are these referred to? So these are referred to as the reference amounts customarily consumed, or the RAC. And this is how we determine the nutrition on our nutrition labels. Now, these are the serving size that is used again to calculate everything on that label, but they are not recommended serving sizes. And I think that's where everyone gets confused, because how would you know that otherwise? Serving sizes have to be standardized across products so that you can compare products of the same category. You know, you look at 2 ice creams, the serving is going to be 2/3 for both, so you can compare them right next to each other. Now, by law and the way this is written, these serving sizes have to be based on what people are really consuming, not what they should be eating. So even if maybe a half a cup is a better serving for us nutritionally in a health way, people were eating bigger and bigger portions. So by law, we have to show them a serving that is bigger so that you don't have to do any mental guesswork or math to figure this out. So if you notice this, the serving sizes did increase. Other things that increased were things like sodas. While a 20-ounce container of soda was supposed to be multiple servings, many people were drinking it as 1 serving, so they updated that to say 1 serving. It's not a recommendation that you do it, but it's showing you what it is in case you do. Now, this is a very busy chart, and I'm just going to pinpoint a couple things on here, and of course, we always send out the PDF. But this kind of just showcases a little bit of the differences between ice cream, what we call a frozen dairy dessert, gelato, frozen yogurt, and then, I can never say this word, sherbet, and sorbet. So ice cream has a standard of identity, meaning per FDA law, there are certain ratios and percentages of milk fat and other solids that have to be in there to call it ice cream. So something that is ice cream has to have at least 10% fat in there. The way ice cream is made, we churn it very quickly with a lot of high air, so it's going to be light and creamy. Now I'm going to skip down to gelato really quickly because I think a lot of people think that gelato has more fat because it tends to feel really creamy and dense and kind of, if you've ever had gelato, it kind of like pulls a little bit. It actually has less fat than ice cream, but they slowly whip it to make it feel more dense and rich. So that's the biggest difference there between the two of them. Then we have frozen dairy desserts, which you might see on some type of products. Like I'm going to try the Oatly today. This one says non-dairy frozen dessert. It cannot legally be called ice cream because it doesn't have the standard of identity. It might not have the right amount of fat or the other ingredients to call it ice cream. But frozen dairy desserts or frozen non-dairy desserts can be similar in ingredients to ice cream. Like it might be the same exact ingredients, but the ratios are different, or they can be non-dairy options as well. Then we have frozen yogurt, which is going to be made from either a cultured milk or yogurt with probiotics. Sometimes they don't have living probiotics. The freezer's not always a friendly place for probiotics, but some might contain them. It can be tangy and smooth. I do love frozen yogurt. And I think when I was in college, there was like a boom in frozen yogurt places instead of ice cream places. It's not necessarily healthier, it's just different. Then we have the sherbet, which is going to be kind of fruity and light, but still has either dairy or eggs or gelatin. So it's not going to be a dairy-free or vegan option. And then we have sorbet, which is going to be fruit puree, water, sugar. So this would be a good non-dairy option, often are vegan options as well, and tend to have no fat. All right, so some more things to compare on here. So I just have some different ice creams. One of my favorite that we carry, and I have it here, is our churn style of our, we have a bunch of flavors. The caramel ripple is my favorite, but this is just our vanilla. But they're going to be a lot lower in calories. So when you see the churn style, they're 55% less fat, 27% fewer calories than the regular vanilla R brand. The ingredients are very similar. Um, as you can see, it only has 4 grams of total fat, 2.5 are saturated. And then in terms of sugar, like ice cream's still gonna have sugar. So it has 17 grams, and this is for the 2/3 of a cup serving. And 11 grams are added. So almost 3 teaspoons. Really not that bad for added sugar in a serving because you're probably adding something to it. And then I put protein, but really, you're not typically choosing ice cream for the protein. Then we have Ben and Jerry's here, much higher in calories for the same scoop. It's going to be 330 calories, much higher in fat, the 21 grams and 14 grams of saturated fat. Fat carries a lot of calories compared to carbs and protein, so that's where we see the calorie bump there. And it does have significantly more sugar. And traditional, like French style, really creamy ice creams often have eggs as well. So that's also a reason this is slightly higher in calories. There's probably going to be a taste and a texture difference in these two, which we'll touch on. Then we have the Turkey Hill Simply Natural Homemade Vanilla, lower in calories than the Ben and Jerry. Not too much fat, 11 grams, and 7 of which are saturated. Still higher in sugar than the giant one, but nothing too high. And the ingredients are very simple. So that's non-fat milk, cream, sugar, vanilla. So I kind of am showcasing these to give options. And then the last one I have here is the So Delicious Berry Vanilla, 210 calories, 12 grams of fat, 9 of which are saturated because it's predominantly made with cashew and coconut milk, which are going to be high in saturated fat too. Um, Obviously, very little protein there and about equal sugar to the rest of them. But you can see here, depending on what you're looking for, whether it's lower calorie and lower saturated fat, which is typically the lower saturated fat's what I look for, while it still tastes good, but maybe you know you're going to be able to eat a small portion and you want like the real deal, maybe you'll switch to the Ben and Jerry's. Or maybe you want really simple ingredients and the Simply Natural from Turkey Hill is going to be the one you pick. Or maybe you need a dairy-free option. And I don't know, I've really been enjoying So Delicious products recently, so that could be a good option too. Now, I'm just going to showcase a couple of these because this is another way to look at nutrition labels when it comes to things like ice cream pints. So ice cream pints, because it's not meant to be eaten in an entire serving at one time, you're going to see a dual column label. And that's what you'll see here. On the left-hand side is the 2/3 of a cup. On the right-hand side is if you ate the whole container. But they give you both, so you don't have to do any math. No shame involved. It's just this is transparently what it would be. This sounds delicious. But okay, not drastically higher than a lot of the ones we looked at on the first page that were vanilla, especially the Ben and Jerry's. So just, maybe this would be worth it. Then we have, is it Von Leuven? So this is a very popular ice cream. It's a French style ice cream, so they typically have eggs. I was shocked that it was only 260 calories per serving. Only 21 grams of sugar. Again, compared to some of the other varieties, I thought this would be higher. And then a little bit less for the entire container if you were to eat the whole thing at 690. Certainly, if you know your daily calorie needs and things, this is why we talk about portions and how you can fit ice cream every day depending on the portion. So maybe we'll still stick to that half a cup because that's what fit better. This just sounded delicious, so I wanted to pull this up. So this is the Tillamook white chocolate raspberry. I may have to try this one. I think this with like chocolate chips or something would be so good. But it's 220 calories, 25 grams of sugar. So again, a lot of them are going to be sweet. I tend to prefer to get sweet and sugar and things from things like real ice cream than maybe ketchup and salad dressing in places where maybe I can avoid it. And then I did want to throw in one of the options that are maybe the quote unquote like lighter ice creams, things that kind of came out for people who want to eat the whole pint. And that's totally fine. Maybe you're a volume eater and eating a bigger volume is what you prefer versus sticking to that smaller portion. Now, I have some things to say about it though. I really liked Halo Top when it first came out. It was something I ate, especially in college. However, It has been, I think, changed a bit, and I have not tried it recently. I've heard it's been changed for the better. So that's good in terms of taste and texture. They've really improved it because it was kind of, you know, a one of a kind thing when it first came out. In terms of calories, the 2/3 of a cup is 100 calories, so it's much less than what you're going to see in a traditional ice cream. You could eat the whole container for 300 calories, which is what they typically advertise on the front. Now, I will say, however, if you were to eat that entire container, it does have 18 grams of fiber from various fibers that they've added. That does help keep you full, but it could also cause some GI distress in people who don't eat that type of fiber all the time. And it does also have 19 grams of sugar alcohols, which I can't remember the exact number that is recommended per like serving to keep the GI symptoms like gas, bloating, diarrhea at bay. But 19 grams for most people is probably going to cause some GI upset. So if you're someone whose, stomach is sometimes a little rocky, I still might not eat an entire pint, but you probably could eat a bigger serving than some other types of ice cream. So I just wanted to throw it here. They do taste good, but just watch how you feel. And then I wanted to throw this one in here as well, not because it's necessarily on the lower calorie side or anything, but I did want to call out, I think Shayna's tried this one. It is an organic pasture raised regenerative farm ice cream. However, that doesn't make it healthier. It is still ice cream. It's still 310 calories per serving, high in sugar, high in saturated fat. Again, if those things call out to you and what you prefer, great. But from a nutrition standpoint, it's not necessarily healthier. Sounds delicious though. All right, so let's kind of wrap up before we have to get to our circular today, too. So, some serving suggestions, way to portion ice cream. So, um, knowing that the 2/3 of a cup is what's on the serving size now, but maybe your portion doesn't have to be that big. If you're thinking half a cup, a half a cup is about the size of a tennis ball or a cupcake wrapper. So that's a fun way to kind of portion and, serve if you'd like. I did pick up at our store one of these scoopers. I love these. It's so great. I've already used it. But this is the half cup serving. So look out for that in our kitchen aisle, or honestly, I found it in the ice cream section because why not? Most container serving, again, is that 2/3 of a cup. Use a scoop, portion, don't eat out of the pint. Just from a food safety perspective, don't eat out of that pint and then put it back. I know you're going to be the next one to eat it, but the enzymes and things in your mouth will start breaking down the sugars in that ice cream. Just serve it, put it in a bowl. Eat slowly, enjoy the flavor. Ice cream is amazing. You should savor it, eat slowly. I know if you're eating it on a cone, it's probably going to melt quickly, but try to savor and eat slowly. And then here is kind of what I've been driving at today. You need to decide whether you want quote unquote quality. I would say any of the ice creams we sell are going to be good, they're going to taste great, but there's going to be a quality difference between a French style ice cream and then like the light ice creams. So deciding what means more to you. Do you want the higher quality, higher fat, higher sugar, or do you want to eat a bigger portion? Or maybe have something a little lower in calories so that you can stock up more on toppings. So just, a balance. And we do have those, I always love these, but they're the little ice cream cups. I think it's a 100-calorie portion. Again, if you're someone who wants something that's already portioned so you don't have to worry about it, this is a great option too. Ways to enhance ice cream, and I'm going to do this just to try it. You can add fruit or nuts. Of course, it'll add calories, sugar, but just, within portions. Serve with either a small square of dark chocolate or dark chocolate chips. Again, I think that one Tillamook ice cream with some dark chocolate on top would be great. You can make ice cream floats with seltzer, probiotic, or low sugar sodas, milk, or a protein shake. You don't have to add protein to everything, but at the same time, I think a protein ice cream float would probably be pretty delicious. And then trying things like those banana nice creams or frozen yogurt bark. To me, these will never replace ice cream, especially since I don't like banana, but it can be a nice frozen treat to enjoy. Or make your own. I did get a Ninja Creamy last year, and I do enjoy making some quote unquote better for you ice creams in there as well. We have some great ice cream inspiration on our Savory website. So we do have, I think someone's made it this year for one of our classes, the 3-ingredient nice cream with the bananas. This is a grilled pineapple with dulce de leche ice cream. I'm not even a big pineapple fan, and that sounds really good because I love grilled pineapple. Iced coffee floats. I will definitely be trying that. It's just iced coffee in a small amount too. Ice cream, a little bit of chocolate syrup. It sounds good. Ice cream cupcakes. I was going to make these today, but I figured we wouldn't have time. But it's just an ice cream cup, or it's a cupcake liner. You put two flavors of your favorite ice cream, you freeze it. It has the chocolate shell, you freeze some berries with it. It just looks like a fun portion size way to serve ice cream. And I'm not a big cake person, so like if someone served this to me at a party, I'd be all about it. This is a homemade ice cream, no churn berry swirl. And then these mini affogatos, which are typically a shot of espresso with gelato, but we have an ice cream option as well. And it's a perfect portion, like it's a small one. Okay, so staying tuned. We have lots of classes coming up. I'm doing a raspberry spotlight on Tuesday, and Joni is doing a pre, pro, and postbiotics next Thursday for trending topics. You can register here. But I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to serve before we get into the circular quickly. Um, so going up to Maine every summer for to visit my grandparents, I would always make a wild blueberry pie. If you remember Shayna and I talking about blueberries last week for Feature Friday, I talked about wild blueberries being my favorite. So I'm doing a scoop of coffee ice cream right into my giant Martin's mug. So that was about a half a cup. I'm probably going to serve myself the 2/3 of a cup serving, which is going to be slightly more. Okay, so you can see my ice cream in there. Then, hear me out. This is my favorite combination for ice cream. So we would eat the wild blueberry pie with a scoop of coffee ice cream on top. Coffee ice cream with wild blueberry pie is a perfect combo. So what I did is I took that wild blueberry fruit spread that I talked about in class last week. It is so good. I can't believe I hadn't tried it before. I put a little bit in the microwave with a little bit of water to kind of just make it a little bit, it's not super syrupy, but I'm just gonna pour a little bit right on my ice cream. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. I'm gonna try some. Mm. Ooh, the coffee ice cream's good. Mm. Ooh, it is so cold. That's not bad. So that is the blueberry is amazing. The blueberry with the coffee, you gotta try it. This is the Oatly dairy-free ice cream. It's pretty good. So it's no dairy, no gluten. I don't know. That was not bad for a dairy-free ice cream. Like there's a lot that has to go into making that. However, I did also get the Basset, which is a lot higher in calories, but that looks really good too. I'm gonna have to give that a try. They're starting to melt. It's so hot in here. But I want to thank you so much for joining me. Stick around for the circular.